spent the whole decade of the 1980s doing stand-up comedy, and when I say spent, those years really were spent, because I didn't have much to show for it when it was over. The worst show that I ever did, the most terrible show, was I got a call from an agent, and she needed me to do a show for a kennel club on Woodby Island. Nice little family audience. She said, get on the ferry, just walk on, don't take your car, they'll pick you up when you get to the island. And when I got to the ferry, there was a comic there who I knew, and he said, what are you doing here? And I said, I got some show for a kennel club. And he said, are you sure? He thought he was supposed to do that show. And I said, well, I have a contract. I was about to have an awful night. I didn't know what I was in for, but at least I had this contract. And I said, why don't you come with me and we'll do the show together and I'll split the money. And he said, didn't answer. He didn't say anything. He just went straight to this payphone. This was the 80s. We didn't have cell phones. And I said, let's do the show together. And he called the guy at the kennel club and he cussed him out. I mean, he cussed him out and slammed down the phone. And I said, I guess that means we're not going to do the show together. So I got on the boat. And when I got to the island, there was nobody there to pick me up. I waited and waited, and finally this old beat-up Toyota sped into the parking lot, and the guy driving the car said, are you the comic? I said, yeah. And he said, get in. There was a woman in the passenger seat, so I had to get in the back seat, and it was full of the guy's laundry. And somehow I made room and I got in, and I said, I heard this show is for a kennel club. And he explained, we just say that so we can get a temporary liquor license. The show was in this old Grange hall, and they had a couple of kegs of beer and a lot of guys with really long beards. I mean, really long beards. It was like Snow White and the Seven Dwarf beards, and except there was no Snow White. There were women there that they didn't have beards. I got introduced, and I got on stage, and everyone was in the back of the room about 100 feet away, and it was this big empty floor between us. And I spoke into the microphone, and the distortion was so bad nobody could understand a word I said. Nobody complained about it. They just stood in the back of the room with their arms crossed. And now that I think of it, the show wasn't that bad. When I realized they couldn't understand me, I decided I could just talk about anything I want. It didn't matter, so I just started saying, row, 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 row. Now, one of the guys in the back of the room came to the front, and he got a chair, and he sat right in front of me, and he started heckling me. And I don't remember what he said, but I looked at him, and I said, row, row, row. And the distortion was so bad, I got away with it. I got finished with my show, and I went backstage. I was sitting backstage, and there was a band playing on the stage, and I felt awful. I thought, are they going to pay me for this? If I were them, I wouldn't pay me for this. The band was playing, and I thought, I wonder if the band is having any fun. And right then, the lead singer of the band stepped backstage and stuck his finger down his throat and threw up. And so I said to myself, I guess the band isn't having any fun either. Then I went out into the audience and sat at a table with these guys, and the heckler guy came up and asked me if I was glad that he helped me, and I said, oh, yeah, thanks for all the help. And there was a woman there with her boyfriend, and she said, I wanted to do the wet t-shirt contest, but my boyfriend won't let me. They were supposed to have a wet t-shirt contest, but they couldn't get any of the women to sign up, except for this one who wanted to, but her boyfriend wouldn't let her. And I didn't know what to say to her about that, so I said, well, I don't know why he won't let you sign up. You have really nice... And he was standing there looking at me, and I said, teeth? You have nice teeth. And She said, "Thanks, I just got him this week," and she pulled him out of her mouth. So then the guy who hired me came over and he paid me, so I got the money. Then the next thing that happened was the girlfriend of the guy who hired me got into a fist fight with another woman, and then the guy who hired me got into a fist fight with a boyfriend of the woman who got into a fight with his girlfriend. Then I grabbed one of the organizers of the event and I said, "I really need to get home. I need someone to take me to the ferry." And this guy rolled his eyes like this was a big inconvenience. So I just kept asking people until someone drove me to the ferry. Now, by this time, the ferry had already made its last run for the night, so it was parked and tied up to the pier. There was nobody around, so I jumped off the pier and onto the deck of the ferry, and I found a bench where I could sleep. And when I woke up, the ferry was moving across the Puget Sound back to Seattle. And that was the most terrible show I ever did. Actually, it wasn't such a bad show, but who would know?